Hello and welcome to the Fen Den. I'm your host, Sean Allen Fenn, and my goal is to win your hearts and to change your minds.
Hey, welcome to the Fen Den. I'm your host, Sean Allen Fenn. You heard my intro, because if you have already forgotten what my goal is, it's to win your hearts and it's to change your minds. This episode is going to be a little bit different from the previous ones, as I'm becoming more, I guess, I don't know, an advanced human being. I'm trying to get better at what I do, and so hopefully that's what you are trying to do with your life, is get better, and that's why you're listening. Get better than you were yesterday. Today you should be able to do something a little bit better, and a little bit better tomorrow, and a little bit better the next day, and we build our life brick by brick. Okay, I talk about art, I talk about entrepreneurial things and innovation and making money and just getting through life in the best possible way, so that you can be not just the chess piece, but the chess player. Think a few steps ahead, organize your life, plan your life, design your life. You create your own freaking situation, so you can either be a victim of your circumstance or you can create your own circumstance. And this is what this is about. Now, so the different little format about today's episode is in an effort to maximize time. And that's what this episode is about, solving a big problem. And the number one problem that I have is time management. This is about that, and this episode in and of itself on a meta level is about that, because what I'm learning how to do is to maximize and multiply content and apply that to other areas of your life. Like take who you are, take who you know, take what you know, take who you are, put something out in the world, and then multiply it. Okay, that's the intention, and I'll let you decide how effective it is. And as you listen to this episode, it's something that is ongoing here, that is about time management and figuring things out. This is about what I learned from Apple, okay? And how to be more effective if you want to be more effective, it requires you to kind of think on a meta level, on a higher kind of structure, like be able to zoom out. Because I love the expression that if you're busy being the coffee, you can't be the coffee cup. That's how I say it anyway. By the way, the funny thing is that I'm drinking less coffee, and as I'm trying to get more aware of my health and creating good habits, it's kind of cool. Anyway, this isn't about that. All right. It is what I learned from Apple. There's a few things going on with me. I'm interested in reaching out and adding value and stacking my income, being surrounded by people in the same kind of mindset. The people that you surround yourself with day in and day out will affect you, if you have not noticed. And you have to be careful who you let into your life, business and otherwise, business and personal. Because whoever you surround yourself with day in and day out, they will affect you. So you have to really control who is in your life. And that means who you work for too. Okay, so I'm looking to stack my income, and I interviewed at Apple. Okay, that's how this came about. Because I love Apple computers, I love the mindset. Number one is the mindset, okay? Here's here's something that you should consider if you're out there looking for work. I'm going to get into a couple of things, actually. I was thinking, there's always someone who is going through what you've already been through. Now, I'm no martyr. I haven't been through like really like intense, treacherous things. No rags to riches story here. Just a normal guy trying to give something in the world, trying to give something out of the creative ability that I have. And in an effort of doing that, it's led me down different roads. Specifically, let's just drop in on this. What I've learned working in different places where I've worked and looking back, like the success stories and the failures, and it's all one big composite that you can look at and you can see, okay, well, here's something that I can share with someone that I can either A, like inform them, try to help them, guide them what to look for, or B, just tell your story and, maybe it just bounces off and doesn't stick. But I was thinking back the other day about when I used to work for this company, and I got promoted kind of quick. It was for a cosmetic company. I was really young. I mean, by really young, I mean I was in my early 20s, and started working for this cosmetic company. And I got promoted pretty fast into this trainer position. And the job didn't last. It was really, really excellent learning experience, but it didn't last because the company restructured. But the bottom line, like if I was really, qualified, if I was really good, I would not have gotten laid off. Even though things happen, companies restructure and they eliminate positions and stuff. But if you're really good, they'll keep you. And I wasn't really good, so they didn't keep me. And I learned from that. I'm like, you know what? I can't make those same mistakes again. Recognizing like where I dropped the ball, and now you have a chance to pick up the ball again. And now every year and everything that you do, you can remember what happened before, and you can either stay in the past or you can acknowledge, okay, that happened in the past. This is what I'm going to do going forward. And you pivot and you move in a direction of your purpose, of your life purpose, of your goals, of your dreams. You don't let anything get in your way. Okay. I probably sound like I'm rambling, but I'm saying this because this is the stuff that I'm going through and I wanted to share with you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play. The rest of this podcast will be what I've learned so far, and it's about sharpening the axe. This is a really good metaphor because sometimes we'll start doing something and we don't know why we're doing it. And then we can't see the problem until it's too late, until we're already so far down the road where like we've already like wasted so much time. And you either A, you continue to waste time and do the same thing, or B, you recognize what the problem is and you switch it up. Okay, so this is about problem solving. One of the cool things I learned about Apple, I mean, you learn something every day, right? Like when you really study what people do, and the advantage of kind of paying attention to like how companies work and like how businesses work is to get to understand like their model and like what they're doing, so that you can kind of use those things that resonate with you, that fit what you're doing. Because you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. It takes up a lot of energy, first of all, to do anything new. So if you're going to build something and do something from the ground up, it's going to take a lot longer than if you just look at what other people are doing and kind of build off their successes when they work for you. I interviewed at Apple. I love work. I love the energy, like the mindset of the people that work there. And there's something that just dawned on me. If you're listening to the Fen Den, it's your host Sean Allen Fen. I don't know if you came here because of you. Maybe you're a friend and you're just like listening because you know me already. Maybe your family. It's possible that only my family listens to my podcast now. But going forward, as I keep putting these out there, this is the goal. Get out there, and you're not gonna be able to be a virtuoso until you've actually played a few gigs. So I'm playing a few gigs and making this work, and hopefully getting better than I was yesterday. Okay, I love the energy of Apple, and that's why I went ahead and interviewed to work for them. Whether I get a call back or not, it's totally cool, because they just, when you walk into their offices, like the environment is just really good. So this is what I noticed. Like I was saying, I don't know if you found me because I talk about art, because art is my thing, or if it's for another reason, or if it's for when I talk about like making money or sales, or maybe you're just growing with me to become who you were meant to be. The cool thing about Apple is, have you ever felt like you were pressured to buy any of their products? You weren't, right? Because they're that good. Here's one of the cool things. If you can get to this level, this is why Apple is one of the great companies. This is why they are who they are. Is because they sort of use this moral authority frame, in that their products are just so good. They're more expensive than other computers. They are, they all work together. Like if you buy a iPhone, you probably have a computer, you probably have a laptop, you probably have a desktop, or you probably have an iPad, you probably have an iWatch. They all work together. It's symbiotic, like everything is interconnected, and they get you into this network of this lifestyle kind of mentality, of this community of people. This is why it is kind of sometimes religious when people kind of stand by that. They think that Apple is better than Android, or Android is better than Apple, or Samsung is better than Apple, and people almost get religious about it, like you're talking politics, like Apple is Republican and Samsung is Democrat, and the two can't, they can't cohabitate. And that's exactly what we want. This seems kind of counterintuitive, but this is another thing I learned. You want to kind of stand out and kind of make it seem like the other option is the wrong option, because that's the perception that you make from the people who are like really, really on board and indoctrinated in your product. I say all that to say that Apple never has a hard sell anything because you walk in and you're ready to buy already. You know what I mean? Here's something that, this is crazy. This is something that people get backwards. Is that if you ever hear someone say like, oh, I don't want to be sold. I hate it when people hard sell. I don't want to be sold. Like it's a bad thing to be sold. Dude, you're sold anyway. You're getting sold and you don't even know it. You just think you're not getting sold. I love it when people do that. Because first of all, if you're not selling, you're not making money. Because that's how you get money, is by providing a product or service for someone to the point where they will exchange their money. They will hand over their money in exchange for the value that you're giving them. And when a business can automatically, instantly have this level of kind of this superior, it's a superior product and you know it. They don't have to hard sell you. You just know it's a good product. And then there, of course, will be people who are on the other end and they think, no, that's not the good product. This is the product for me. You know, Samsung is better than Apple, and that's what I think, and no, nothing's going to change my mind. Whatever. You want to be kind of that polarizing figure. I hate to say it, I hate to bring up the president, but that's one thing he's really good at. It's like creating this polarization. It works. And some people, and it's on different levels. Sometimes it's more obvious. And it works. Because you're always being sold something. And if you're not being sold something, you're probably not a good customer. And no one would probably buy from you anyway if you have a problem with someone, if we have a problem with being sold something. Anyway, I totally went off a tangent, didn't I? Okay. I am going to reuse the rest of the Defend podcast to play the discovery or the realization, the information that I have kind of figured out in creating systems that work, and starting to develop systems to where you can solve problems faster without kind of having to I don't know, deal with a problem in a way that won't render the right results that you need. In other words, I'm going to talk about how Apple has a problem that they solved, and in so doing, they're creating this entirely huge other facet of their business that I didn't even realize was a thing. But it's incredible. So that's what this episode is about. It is about solving your problem to the point where you create a bigger thing in your advantage. You can solve your problem. You get an advantage out of it. You have a superpower. And Apple's doing it. That's why they're one of the greatest companies of our time. And it all stems from mindset. That's what I was getting at. Okay, that's what I was getting at. It all stems from mindset. Okay, I'm interested in number one, what I can learn from them, from people who work there, and from the minds of people who use Apple are they think differently, and I know that is like advertising being effective. If you remember the Think Differently campaign, prime example. Prime example of why Apple is so awesome is because remember the Think Different ad campaign that Shiat Day was the advertising company that did it for them. They kind of they narrowed down the big idea of Apple that freaking obliterated the competition. I interviewed it at Apple, and during the interview, I didn't know if they were going to ask about product knowledge, about hard drives, about operating systems, about dual core processors, or megabytes, terabytes, or lightning drives. I didn't know like how tech savvy I would have to be. Number one is presumed that if you use Apple, like if you're interested in Apple, you're using their products, you're using their machines, you just kind of know. It's so intuitive. Anyway, they didn't ask about like product details, product knowledge questions per se. They ask more interesting things, like for example, what have you done to help someone in the workplace? What have you done to help another coworker? What have you done to help a customer? You know, like helping people is number one. You know that. But to really put that first and to create this sense of community and like this higher purpose. It's the higher purpose. That's what it is. Because I bet, I just wonder, I don't know if you're listening and maybe you work at Best Buy, but I wonder what the interview process is at Best Buy. Do they ask you about like what size TV is the best for HD with the chip that does the best algorithm of vectorization in the polarity of the visual spectrum in combination with the infrared light that receives through the flux capacitor? Do they ask you questions like that, or do they say like, what is the higher purpose kind of question? What have you done to serve your community and help people? And that's what it's all about. It's this greater purpose. It's the sense of purpose, sense of like achievement, sense of doing something for the world that leaves it better than it was before you were here. Right? That's what it's about. Okay, thanks for listening to this podcast. I know, because I do actually appreciate your feedback. I know like it's getting better, right? I'll have a professional operation in no time. But this stuff takes time, man. You know? It takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So I know there's like noise in the background. And I recorded this segment that I'm going to play that this is about. I recorded it on the street, so there's like background noise. And but the reason I did that is, or the reason like it's okay, is because it's never is. I can't wait for things to be perfect before I get them out. I can't wait for it to be perfect. It's already perfect. This is the charm of it. This is the charm of the Fenden podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It is it's about determination to get ideas out into the world, give something that hopefully someone will appreciate, have a discourse that provides something enlightening. It reaches someone will hear this, and something I say will resonate with someone, and you'll learn something you didn't know before. It'll change your mind in little ways. I know I can't change your mind right away in one shot, because if your mind's made up a certain way, you're going to have resistance to new ideas. I know that you have resistance sometimes to new ideas, but that is the goal of the Fenden podcast, to win your hearts and change your minds. So without further ado, I'm going to do the rest of this podcast and give you the segment that is titled Don't Chop Down Another Tree Before You Sharpen the Axe. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Don't chop down another tree until you've sharpened the axe. This is what I learned from Apple. Whether you use Apple computers or not, and maybe you use Android, you can get religious about it to solve a problem that maybe you have. I know it's a problem that I have, and it's a big problem that Apple has, although it is much, it's an envious one in their case, okay? So I'm just going to get right into it. The problem at Apple is they have too many customers and not enough time to get to them all. So what do? That's a great problem to have. And if you have a business with that problem, then I'm sure you're doing well. And the obvious solution would be to hire more people, right? Well, even if you hire more people, well, then what? You're still going to have the same problem controlling time. So you need a system. Well, what Apple did is the thing that makes them great. They can hire more employees, which is what they're doing. The thing is, you still want to discover how to help more people faster. And Apple is starting to roll out more services. You're probably aware of iTunes, Apple Music, the App Store, iCloud, Apple Pay, and more. And you probably are familiar with the Genius Bar. Well, these services are blowing up their business. Last quarter, they did $7 billion alone. That's more than Amazon, and it's more than Netflix. It's the highest revenue for a 13-week quarter. And it's because their services are the glue that sells more Apple products. I mean, think about it. What makes their business so strong? Sure, they have great machines, but it's really the culture. They have a charismatic leader, Steve Jobs, and a culture built around helping people create. I love that about Apple, okay? So that's the glue that sells more products, is providing these services centered around how to use all of their products in creative ways and different ways to solve your problems. So they're creating a culture, building a culture around that. It's becoming their main revenue. So you know about the Genius Bar. One thing that I didn't know about was they have this new thing called Today at Apple. And Today at Apple is a program that I feel like a community outreach sort of thing. Well, they provide inspiring programs. How to learn how to edit video using Final Cut, art events. And this is really becoming a huge advantage for them. So the big problem is creating more time. Time management is a huge opportunity for me, and maybe it's for you too. I've been getting up at 4:30 in the morning so I can
get more done during the day. But what happens is I get bombarded by micro tasks, I call them. And micro tasks are these little things, the devil is in the details. And before I know it, my whole day is gone and I didn't get as much done, not nearly as much as I wanted to. Do you have that problem too? Well, it shows up even in client work. A client will ask for changes, and these changes that tend toward micro tasks, if you let them, they'll turn into that. But I want to show you something I've learned that will help you to be more effective and to create more time. Okay, so I'm really getting into systems thinking. To manage better, we have to back up to just before the point where we decided to take on the micro task, right? Okay, so before you really get into something, and this is really important, especially if you want to hire someone to do something or you need someone's help. I want to avoid, number one thing, I want to avoid being the bottleneck that holds back the success of a project. In order to do that, here's a system I've been developing. It's based off of the Pareto principle, for one thing, the 80-20 rule, to where you want to avoid spending 80% of your time, putting 80% of your time and energy, rendering 20% of your results. You want it to be the other way around, where you give 20%, think about it, like 20% of the food in your fridge. Say out of all the food in your fridge, you eat 20% of it on a regular basis, right? And the clothes in your closet, we tend to wear 20% of our clothes. And that's the same with money, like the things that drive business. It's usually 20% of something that renders 80% of our results. Okay, so we want to avoid putting too much energy and getting not enough results. And we want to avoid remedial tasks, number one. Now, assuming we know what problem it is that we need solved. Okay, so for Apple, it's time management. They want to help more people faster. So here's the number one question that will render, if you don't know the why already, this will give you the how. And it's important to know the why, because in order to get someone to help with something, or to feel accomplished, you want to know why you're doing something. The first question after you know what the problem is, or maybe if you don't, what is the result that you want? What's your desired outcome? What is the result that we want? Okay, and then that will give us the why and the how. It might even clarify why you're doing something, and it might even clarify what the problem is. The problem might not be what you think it is. That will give us the why and the how. Now Apple has too many customers, not enough time. Okay, so to solve that problem, they identified the two things. Think about it. Any problem that you want solved, or any issue that you might have, if it's not emotional, it's you, with the exception of emotion. Like if you want to be loved, it's a different story. Even still, it boils down to this. Most people are asking, how do I do something? Or what does this for me? Right? Okay? And remember, without knowing why, it's not likely that you'll get good quality results or best quality help doing something. So you want to save the remedial tasks for the robots. Devote 20% of your time to rendering the 80% that will give you the best results, okay? They have this big problem, time management. So they chunk it down to determine what the big problem, what's the most common thing that people want. It's how do I do this, or what does this? To avoid doing remedial tasks and to create more time for yourself. In conclusion, instead you want to control time. Find out what your outcome is, and that will give you the how and the why to get more done faster. Okay, so don't chop down another tree before you sharpen the axe. And that's what I learned from Apple, and I hope that helps you out. All right, I'm going to leave you with this to conclude this episode of The Fen Den. By the way, thank you for listening. This is Sean Allen Fenn, your host. And I am here to win your hearts, change your minds, of course. However, if I haven't changed your mind yet, then I ask you to, first of all, I thank you for
listening up to this point. And if you will continue to listen, I'd appreciate it, because eventually I will win your heart and change your mind. And go ahead and share this with someone. If there's anything that resonated with you, please, I'd make time to do this for you. And one of the main reasons that anyone would want to hear anything I say is that there's something that I've gone through that maybe you're going through now. And I can help you, and we can help each other as we move forward, knowing that we're working towards a goal of becoming a greater version of ourselves. Even though we're perfect just the way we are, we want to experience life in the best possible way, finding the new opportunities that we can find. So, and making the best, getting the best results. So in order to get the best results, that's just to conclude this podcast, to get the best results, you want to first know what problem you're solving. And even if you think you know why you're doing it, it helps to be able to articulate that to someone else so they know why you're doing it, so they can help you. Okay? To get the best results, people want to know, number one, how do I do something? And what does the thing that I'm trying to do for me? And if you can solve those problems, you will win a lot of fans and help a lot of people. Okay, so what is your desired outcome? Number one, what result do you want? That's where you should start. Okay? Before you put the cart before the horse, like many people do, I've done it, where, I think this is so perfect. I think this is so great. What I'm doing is the best idea I've ever had, the best idea, and I know everyone will like it. And even though someone may tell me that I should do it a different way because it's proven to work a different way than what I'm doing, that doesn't matter because I know best. Don't fall into that trap where you think you know best. Because anything you do, you are doing for someone else. Or else it's a hobby. If anything I've said resonates with you, please like and share this. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. And I'll close with this. Be the one who activates your version of reality with what you'd like to see, hear, and feel that inspires others to do the same.